I've talked in other lectures how looking for solutions from the very thing that is causing a problem is in and of itself problematic, because the solutions you come up with still perpetuate the foundational values and philosophies that caused the problem in the first place. So you end up with superficial technical changes rather than broad-based, deep, foundational, adaptive changes. So let's take a very brief look in less than 10 minutes at what this kind of thinking, looking for deep foundational changes rather than superficial changes, what that can lead to when we're taking a look at our economic system in the world today. Now, many people might be really tempted to say, well, this is just, it's obviously a very capitalistic system. So we just have to switch to socialism, and, socialism's is considered a step by Marxists to communism. And everything will be okay. We just got to get out of this capitalistic system. And this particular kind of capitalism is incredibly destructive, absolutely. And it is the system that most of us are stuck in at this moment, right? But what I always find interesting is, instead of looking to other cultural sources like Indigenous peoples for economic solutions to this crisis, to this capitalist crisis, we instead look to more Western traditions. In particular, we look to Marx, who actually said capitalism was necessary in order to lay the groundwork for socialism. And he didn't just mean the social unrest, he meant the industrial infrastructure that would be required to support capitalism and then eventually communism. So we have many Indigenous thinkers who are saying the answer to capitalism isn't socialism, because they are one and the same thing. And if you take a look at this, many people, like I said, will say it's the capitalist economy, but other people like Russell Means and John Mohawk are saying, no, it's the industrial capitalist, the industrial socialist, and the industrial communist economies that are the problem. And here's a picture here on the right. I have a picture of industrialism. You have a picture at the top of the WTO, the World Trade Organization, as the epitome of capitalism, right? And its goal is to remove all barriers to trade, and obviously industry being a part of that. The second image below the WTO is a picture of Lenin, as praising Lenin. It's coming from archives that are all about Lenin, praising him, and obviously you can see that he's kind of leading the charge forward into industrialism through communism. And then you have on the bottom the socialist organizing in the early 20th century of industrial workers of the world, right? Industrial workers of the world unite, the IWW. And as you can see, industrialism, it's right in the name, and it's also in the picture, is an essential part of this. So the idea is capitalism, socialism, communism, they are all predicated on the existence and the continuation of industrialism. And we have Indigenous thinkers like Russell Means and John Mohawk saying it is industrialism that is the problem. And all these others, they're just flip sides to the same coin. They're the same thing. They're coming from a same cultural perception that does not see nature as consisting of relatives, that does not see nature as something to be respected. And they are proposing that instead of switching from capitalism to socialism, which isn't going to get us anywhere, in their opinion, we need to indigenize our economics. So again, just bringing it up closer, I should have done that earlier. And when we have indigenized economics, we have an economic system that is not based on exploitation of the earth. We have an economic system instead that is based on something called the honorable harvest, which is articulated by Potawatomi citizen Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is herself a botanist, as well as somebody who is recovering her Potawatomi heritage and culture. And this honorable harvest lists things like, all life, it understands all life gives to other life. The idea is that life gives you a gift. Other life gives you a gift so that your life can continue on. That's what the idea is based on. By contrast, capitalism, socialism, communism are based on the idea that the world is ours to take from however we want to. We can take whatever we want from it. We are entitled to the so-called resources of the world. The honorable harvest is based on the idea that the world is full of relatives, and these relatives care about us and we care about them. And so they give us life, we give them life. It's this beautiful mutual exchange, but the only way it remains a beautiful exchange is if we do it with respect and we do it with honor, right? And so we don't just go out and take what we want. We go out and we ask permission. We explain why we need to harvest this plant, or why we need to hunt this deer, why we need to cultivate this field. And we say, is that okay with you? And people laugh at this who don't come from this culture. Ha ha ha, you're asking permission of the plants of the field and the deer. How ridiculous. Because they come from a culture that does not recognize those beings as having sentience, intelligence, and the ability to communicate. But from indigenous perspectives, they have intelligence. People do communicate with them. There is this mutual respect if you live in this way. And that's what the honorable harvest is based on. You show mutual respect. You ask permission. You listen to the answer. Do they say, yeah, it's okay for you to harvest me? No, it's not. And if it is okay, be sure to give something back in reciprocity. And never take more than what you need. And never take more than half. Right? Because there are others who have to live off of these gifts as well. So the honorable harvest is a very different way. The honorable harvest does not allow things, for example, like mountaintop removal mining. You just can't do that, because no mountain's going to allow you to just cut off its top and destroy all the life that it supports. Right? The honorable harvest doesn't allow something like that, because that's so disrespectful and such a dishonorable way to engage with other life. So Indigenous thinkers, Russell Means, John Mohawk, and others are saying the answer is not socialism, it's not communism. Those are all based on the same industrial paradigm. It's capitalism, the same paradigm that deadens the entire world and only sees humans as having any sort of worth. Instead, they say we need to indigenize our economics. We need to return to principles like what Robin Wall Kimmerer articulates as the honorable harvest. We need to have a paradigm that completely shifts so that our economic systems live in respect for all life, human and non-human, in a way that's completely different than the Western economic paradigms. That's pretty much it. I do want to, I'm going to put a link here for you guys to access that in the description, that takes a look at kind of everything we just talked about in this several part lecture. It's called Civilization, right? Because almost everything we're talking about today has everything to do with the industrial system that we are in. And we talked about how it's very capitalistic, but the environmental concerns don't go away if we shift to socialist or communist. So we're in a very strange situation, but some of that situation that we are in is something that is part of civilization itself, part of city-based lifestyles, part of city-based societies itself, as opposed to small-scale societies. So this video, this kind of parody of a video, really, I think, brings out some really important points. It's meant to be funny, but also to make some points through that humor. So I'll put that in the link for you guys to watch. Other than that, that is it. We'll talk to you later. Bama P.